Hey everybody, Q here with another China Gold Oil weekly market update for the week ending February 15th, 2013. Alright, we're looking at a healthy consolidation in the Dow Jones Industrial Average. All throughout February, the first 2 weeks of February, we've pretty much stayed flat at the 14,000 level. And what's happening here is the 50-day moving average is moving slowly closer and closer to the price action. And I would not be surprised if this coming week, if the price action dropped a little bit, it won't close below the 50-day moving average. It might drop a little bit, and I'm going to be interested. I'm going to be watching to see how the price point interacts with the 50-day moving average, if it does at all. It might not at all, but I'm going to see how close it comes to it and kind of the patterns that the candlestick bars show me throughout this week. So that's what I'm looking for this week. Let's check out the SPX. And same thing for the SPX. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it because it's so similar to the Dow, and pretty much same analysis applies here. Now let's get to gold. And now we're looking at gold, and last week, last Thursday and Friday, I had a strong probability that gold was going to drop in price, possibly down to the lower envelope. And sure enough, this past week we did drop down in price, and it was like a waterfall. On Thursday to Friday we had a gap. I see it probably continuing down, not as strongly as this. It will be bound by this lower envelope, but I do see it coming down. The drop will slow off, but it won't stop, is what I see happening. And then sometime in the future we might have to come back and close this gap, and that would be a good timing to interact with the 50-day moving average, maybe 2 weeks down the road. We'll definitely see about that, but that's the price action I'm looking for next. This coming week is continuing on its downtrend, possibly slower, and it will be bound by this lower envelope. Let's see what silver says. And you'll remember I said the same thing for silver. Looking at these two, Thursday and Friday of last week, I said, yeah, there's a very strong probability that this is going to drop quite a bit, and it will be bound by this lower envelope. And sure enough, that's exactly what happened this past week. This chart analysis called it exactly. So what I see in the future, pretty much the same for gold. It's probably going to continue down along this lower envelope. It'll be bound by that in the next week. And again, the downtrend will slow off. The drop will slow off, but I don't see it stopping anytime soon. I don't see it stopping this coming week. It might even be bound by underneath the 29 level. So that's what I'm looking for silver. Let's see what oil's doing. Alright, looking at oil, we can see a consolidation throughout February. And I did say that I was looking for it to come closer to this 50-day moving average and interact with that. And sure enough, on Friday, it didn't interact with it, but it came close. It's close to the 50-day moving average now. It's going to stay above it. I see it staying above the 50-day moving average. I'm not sure if it will level off and continue its consolidation, or if it'll move up. Probably this week it'll move up and close this gap right at around the 23 level. But I'm still looking to see how it interacts with the 50-day moving average. On Monday it'll be a good confirmation. If it bounces up and the price action is around the 23 level, that's a good confirmation that we're going to continue this uptrend and more or less stay certain distance away from the 50-day moving average. So that's what I'm looking for next week, a pop off the 50-day moving average and continuing the uptrend. And now let's look at grains. Alright, here's the grains ETF, and this guy did exactly what I predicted it would do. We were looking at this price action, and I said, oh, we're looking at the top of a waterfall. We're about to fall off a waterfall, and the waterfall will be bound by the lower envelope. And look what happened. Almost exactly what the call was. I said right below the 52 level is exactly what I said. Watch for price action below the 52 level before this thing turns around. Now what I'm looking for this coming week is possibly a further flattening off at the 52 level, because that's a big drop and that's a fast drop, and it can't drop too quickly in either direction. So what bounds its growth, this is like the regulator, the growth or the shrinkage, I guess you could say. So the 50-day moving average is like the regulator, and it has to come back and not necessarily touch it, but it has to level off and get closer to it before it drops further. So if it does drop further, which I really don't see happening due to these two price points, but if it does drop further, it will be bound by this lower envelope. If it goes up, it will be bound by the 50-day moving average, but I see it more or less staying at the 52 level throughout this coming week. Alright, let's check out China. And looking at the FXI, we can see last week we looked at this and I said it's probably going to stay above the 50-day moving average, which it did. And that's a sign to me that we're going to have further, not necessarily further growth or consolidation, but in the coming week I do not see the price action moving below the 50-day moving average. I see it staying above the 50-day moving average. Whether it actually moves up or flattens off along the top of the 50-day moving average remains to be seen, but that's what I'm going to be looking for, is more or less continued price action and consolidation above the 50-day moving average, probably not moving dramatically up or down, probably staying right above the 50-day. So let's see what the old EWH tells us for Hong Kong. EWH is more or less the same story, and it kind of confirms the FXI story. So we came down close to the 50-day moving average, and we went up a little bit, but we tested these highs that we created here, this resistance level at roughly 20.50. So what I see this coming week is more consolidation around the $20 level. Probably not going above the 20.50 because of this resistance that was created, and I don't see it going below the 50. I'll be curious to see how it interacts with the 50-day moving average. So that's what I'm looking for next. Probably further consolidation and interaction with the 50-day. Looks like possibly this week. Oh, and that'll be a perfect time to retest this low. Alright, let's see how the China consumer is doing. Okay, China consumer, more or less the same story. Played around with the 50-day moving average, and this is what I talk about when I talk about the interaction with the 50-day moving average and the price action. I like to see how it interacts, and if it bounces up, or what it does with this. So this is a good, healthy indication that we're going to continue to stay above the 50-day moving average. Probably not go below the 15 point, and probably stay below the 15.50 because of these highs that were created here in this resistance. So I see it in the future consolidating between the 15.50 and really the $15 mark in the next week or two. So that's what I see for China. Alright, that is your China Gold Oil Weekly Market Update for the week ending February 15th, 2013. Thanks a lot for your time. I do hope it was worth your time. I hope this helps you see the market in a way that you might not have normally seen it, and maybe helps you save a little money. Cool, take care, and I'll see you next week.